Could you lift up the agenda for me a little bit, Dr. Red, to see it all? May we come to order? There is no order, huh, Thurston? That's too much fun.
Mr. Sessions, we want to check to see if our live stream is up and running. Okay, according to Mr. Evans, we are live. So whenever you are ready, we are. And Ms. Shamika F. Harris will do the invocation. I do not see Pastor Graham. So Ms. F. Harris will do the invocation when you are ready.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. Can we do a roll call, Dr. Red, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Glenn Sessions?
Yes, present.
Ms. Thursa Crittenden?
Present.
Mr. Michael Fleming? Here. Ms. Siobhan Gordon? Here. Mr. Raul Herrera? Mr. Jay Stedmeyer? That is a roll call, Mr. Sessions. Thank you. I would like to recognize you have several board members in the fiscal room here at the Gateway, including our rector, Ron Winstead, Ms. Curry, Mr. Turnage, and Dr. Brown.
Thank you very much. Ms. Epps, would you, thank you. Ms. Epps, give us the invocation, please? Harris. Epps Harris, I'm sorry.
Harris.
Ms. Harris.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Let us pray. To the true and all-wise God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather in the name of Virginia State University. We ask that you be with us in this moment, lead us and guide us, give us clarity, give us ideas, give us creativity and innovation in this moment. Direct our thoughts, direct our words, and that they be in the best interest of you, but also in the best interest of the amazing students that we serve here at Virginia State. In this moment, we ask for your presence, and we also ask for all that you are capable of doing and enhancing here at Virginia State. These things we do ask in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. You have the agenda. If there are no edits or changes, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Thank you, Thursa. Say a second.
Second.
Thank you very much. You also had the previous minutes that were also published in Diligent. Can I get an approval of the reading of the prior meeting's minutes, please?
So moved. Thursa.
And second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, do you have any remarks you want to make before we get going?
Mr. Sessions, are you ready for the roll call for each of the items?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Crittenden?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming? Mr. Fleming, we're doing a roll call for approval of the agenda.
Oh, yes.
Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Herrera joined us today? Okay. Mr. Sessions?
Yes.
Okay. Rector Winstead? Approval of the agenda. And for approval of the minutes, Ms. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens? Yes. Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Ms. Ferrera? Mr. Sessions?
Yes.
Director Winstead?
Yes.
Thank you. That is a roll call.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. President, any remarks on your behalf, please?
No, sir, other than the acknowledgement of the wonderful work that Ms. Simmons is working on and the collaboration that she had to do in order to present the report that she's presenting today on early retirement. So I want to thank her for that work in advance.
Well, thank you very much. We want to move right into that. I see my change. Mr. Tiny, would you go ahead and give us an update on what's going on in the personal compensation and governance area of your responsibility, please?
Was that for me, Mr. Sessions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We're waiting on you. Thank you.
Waiting on me. Right. Okay. Good morning, almost afternoon, everyone. I am Tanya Simmons, Associate Vice President for HR. Yeah. Okay. And so I want to present to everyone the faculty early retirement incentive proposal. This proposal is given to us through the Code of Virginia 23.1-1302, and it basically gives governing boards of public higher education the ability to create a compensation plan to incentivize voluntary early retirement for our tenured faculty, teaching and research. This code also gives us the ability to, when we create this plan, while right now it is established under the section, we cannot, it should not go exceeding over 1%. However, one of the agenda items for resolution is to ask the board to consider us to go up to 5%. So as this moves along, what I want to tell you too is that even though this code specifically speaks to tenured faculty, the university is looking at the ability to provide incentives to all faculty and staff. So in other words, maybe FAs, classified and the like. We are in conversations with the AG's office to explore that possibility. So again, the action items are two things. We want to implement the ERIP, so we'll go through some of those things, and we also want to exceed the code where it says 1% of faculty salaries and fringe benefits to 5%. So what I want to talk about is eligibility. Eligibility, again, we talked about the tenured teaching and research faculty who must be in that category according to the code. You must be at least 60 years old with 10 years or more of VSU service. And retire from Virginia Retirement System or the ORP. Retire actually means to submit your paperwork and go through that process. So when we also talk about who could be eligible, in looking at the demographics that we have, approximately 274 teaching and research faculty. Out of that is 64 that are tenured and meet that eligibility, which is 23% of that workforce. And so when we talk about the workforce and when we talk about the succession plan, we are working with the deans and the chairs to identify the critical roles in each college to ensure the stability of the workforce. One of the examples that the recommendation is being put out here is using base salary. When we talk about base salary, we're looking at approximately 2% of your base times your total years of service. We're also looking at the healthcare, the lump sum. So we're looking at a $15,000 healthcare lump sum payment. Now the cap of everything is $95,000 or up to $95,000 to be allocated over 2 years. again, based on the code of the allocation. So I want to pause right here. I want you to really take this example in because I'm giving you 3 different examples based on the age, the years of service, what their base would look like times the years of service, what the incentive payout would be, and the healthcare lump sum on top of that, and then you'll see the total incentive. Again, not going over $95,000. So let's take the middle of the road at 68 with 30 years of service, and that person's salary is $98,500, which is 2% of that is $1970, and what they're looking at as an incentive payment is $59,100. Add $15,000 to that, it's $74,000. If we go to the latter example, where the person is 72 with a wealth of knowledge, 37 years of service at a salary, what you see there, even though their incentive payment is going over the $80,000, their normal calculation is 82, but remember, we're not moving over, the proposal is not to move over 95,000. So even though the total incentive is 97,000, we would cap that at 95,000. I will pause here for any questions.
I think Ms. Simmons, this is also a draft
This is a proposal
because we haven't had it fully vetted by the faculty senate yet, though they have seen it.
Yes.
And this is more just illustrative for the board.
That is absolutely correct. There are several options. This is one of the options that we are putting out here. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. President.
I did have a question. Like, how does this compare to other early retirement incentive plans for colleges and universities?
So in my conversations with a lot of colleges in the area, there are sporadic. So the code says you can use a lump sum payment up to 150% of their salary. So that's almost like the Cadillac, right? And then so you can also use the formula-driven version, which you see before you, based on years of service and your salary. And there's an option that you just do a straight lump sum. There is a university that's doing a $40,000 payment. There is a university that's actually using this formula. There's another university that's using 150% of the salary. So if the person's salary is $75,000, they're going to take 150% of that, and that's their payout. And they spread that over 7 years. So comparatively speaking, as Dr. Abdullah said, this is just one example of many that we can choose as a governing board. Did that answer your question?
It did.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I just have one more question.
Sure.
And this is just me, corporate background.
Yep.
60 doesn't feel like early retirement to me. So I'm just curious, like, is there a goal here around just kind of people who've been in the industry for a while, just giving them an option to to leave so that we can bring in fresh talent? Like, I'm just curious.
Well, what I can share with you, the background regarding the code used to be 50 years old.
Which feels like early.
Right. It used to be 50 years old. And relatively speaking, if you're a member of a Virginia retirement system, early retirement is 50, right? And so then you creep up. But now the code has changed and brought it 10 years ahead to 60 years. And so what we want to do is kind of look, and I don't want to speak for the deans and chairs, I don't want to get ahead of them because we're working together, but at the end of the day, we want to look at our faculty and staff and see exactly where we could allocate funds or what have you. But at the end of the day, we want to have a platform for someone who couldn't retire because maybe healthcare is too expensive. And I can share with you that the healthcare cost today for a single person when you retire is $800. When you retire with 2 people, it's $1,400 to $1,600. And when you retire with 3 people, it's $2,200 plus. So that $15,000 incentive is a bonus, if you will, towards that incentivization.
Yes. Ms. Gordon, if I could add a little. Some of the motivation for this was last year around this time when we entered into COVID, and to be honest, we were kind of unsure where the finances were going. There were faculty who were very interested in us having an early retirement program. And to be honest, at that point, we couldn't afford one. And so now as we look forward now, for some of those faculty who asked about it, we wanted to have that option on the table if there were people who wanted to take advantage of it, particularly now that teaching and learning has changed dramatically than what it was last year. So that's one of the primary motivators for moving forward.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Yep, any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. So what we have here is a proposal, correct?
That is correct.
And you said there were other formulas. So are we, what are you asking us specifically to do? To look at this proposal, consider others? What action steps do you need to take as a board?
The action of the board is to approve a plan, the plan to move forward with eRIP.
So when you say to approve a plan, it doesn't mean that we have to take any specific action at this juncture, correct?
There's a resolution at the end of this. So the resolution also includes increasing the total budget for this plan to 5%. And that's about.
Ms. Crittenden, if I can help, what we are really asking for you to do is to move forward with a plan. And so we're asking for approval to be able to implement an early retirement plan. It will
Okay.
a lot like this, but not exactly like this. This is more shown for but we're asking for permission to move forward with a retirement plan, early retirement plan, and we're asking for permission to use up to 5% of
5%.
our
Okay, I understand. I just wanted to be clear that the plan that we're looking at now doesn't necessarily represent what we're going to vote on.
Correct.
So so what we have to do is approve a plan, and with that plan, the 5%. So I'm clear. Thank you very much.
Okay. So when we talk about the review and approval process, and it's a process, I can share with you that I've had multiple conversations with the Department of Human Resource Management, Virginia Retirement System, Faculty Senate has been involved, having conversations, and the president, of course. So when we also talking about moving forward and getting the actual plan approved, these layers would need to be involved. Again, the president, the Faculty Senate, Board of Visitors, and then the AG's office for the legal piece, they review it. We move this to SHEV for their eyes on it. And the last step is the Secretary of Education or the Governor's office. And then once all of those things have happened, we move forward to create, and we've already completed everything, we move forward to implement. Before
how long will that take?
Say that one more time.
How long will that take, you think, to get to those steps?
If you're aggressive, a couple months, being that you have to get this plan documented and moved along through that approval process.
We want to introduce it to the professors when they come back to school.
Say that one more time.
We want to introduce this to the faculty staff when they come back in the fall.
That is a possibility. What I can share with you is that definitely Faculty Senate knows, and because I've met with them myself to talk through the plan. I will lean to Dr. Palm or Dr. Abdullah regarding how we want to implement, but once we get through the approval layers, it's full steam ahead at that point. We've done the hard work at that point.
Yes.
Thank you.
Morning visitor session. Yeah, so we're looking to two things. One is that we work through the plan, identify those particular faculty members who are interested in volunteering for this particular incentive. So we want to also include those faculty members, even though as we're working through the plan, to also be eligible for the early retirement. But we'll probably within a few months it's going to take it through the process. We'll also consider faculty members for next year also.
And what is your
just to give you an idea, and they're being very conservative, but I am trying to move very aggressively if we can. And we're trying to get this done as soon as we can, so even faculty who are finishing the semester this year may have an opportunity to do it. But of course, that depends on the approval processes above our level.
All right.
Just what is your take rate, you think, just gut feel, I guess, on this?
Yeah, so that take rate, I'm thinking of 15%, so you have 64. And let me just say this, the 64 number that you see is based on a particular date. There could be someone on the cusp, so that could pump that number up to one more, or what have you. But I'm thinking about 15% of the take rate, maybe 10 to 15 folks that could potentially put their hand up and say, I want to do this. Does that answer your question, Mr. Sessoms? Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Yeah, we thought about the take rate too, absolutely.
So about 10 people may be leaving on the bad one. Okay. Thank you.
Potentially, you're welcome. If there are no other questions regarding that, that presentation, I know Mr. Sessoms asked me to give a quick update regarding the climate survey, salary equity study. And so, as you remember, if you recall, I think everyone will recall when we went home with COVID. And so that stopped us in our tracks regarding stepping into the study. So we are ready to go. I've been in contact with the Office of Procurement. They have assured me that we have a couple of viable vendors to have that discussion with. So we'll start setting up the oral presentations and negotiations to move forward with the study. So the team will be reconvened and we'll get started. So it's all, we're moving forward with that. Any other questions?
And the goal will be to start the climate survey sometime, I guess, in the fall or in the spring.
Yeah, if not the fall, then the spring. I don't anticipate this, I mean, we've been holding on for this for a while and it's really time to get moving. So I don't anticipate us being any later, right, than the spring. Any
It'd
other
be better to
questions?
get this through the COVID season, which is probably being spring, correct?
Say that again, sir?
I said we better to go through the fall as we get transition from COVID and maybe do it in the springtime. Would that be a better time to consider interest?
It could be, as we said yesterday, we're coming back full steam ahead, faculty and staff and students. So that may be an opportunity, but I will allow the process to flow through regarding the procurement process and get the vendor awarded and on board to look at some of our data to get the salary equity done and create the climate survey.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really quickly, just to confirm, salary equity is we are just evaluating salaries at the university to make sure that they are equitable amongst gender, is it gender and race type of equity?
Yes, it includes all of that in our RFP. We asked for an entire approach to salary, compensation, compression, depending on your discipline and those kinds of things. So all of that was placed into the RFP. We had 2 vendors. We actually had 3. One had to bow out, so we have the 2 that we will set up. And so that RFP was packaged pretty tight. So yes, it's inclusive.
And it's also just evaluating our competitiveness relative to the market as well as a part of this. That was the climate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Nationally, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Could you re-show the agenda, please, Dr. Red? No questions? Okay.
I think she's now bringing up the resolution for the early retirement plan that we would like to ask you to vote on.
We'll present that tomorrow at the today at the full board meeting, correct?
Dr. Red?
I think it should be recommended from the committee
And move to the
and
full
then
board?
approved as a
Uh-huh.
board.
Committee to board, yes.
Committee to board.
we need to have a roll call vote on this to move it to the full board this afternoon. And you ask the roll call, Dr. Red, please.
Do you have a motion and a second, Mr. Sessom? You would need a motion
I get a
and a
motion
second?
A motion to approve the early retirement plan going forward to the full board this afternoon. Can I get a motion, please? Hello?
I believe, Mr. Fleming?
Did I hear a motion and a second, please?
Yes, so moved. Mike Fleming.
And second, Siobhan Gordon.
Thank you, Siobhan. Roll call vote, Mrs. Dr. Red, please.
Yes. Ms. Crittenden?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Sessom?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
Thank you. That is the roll call vote.
Thank you very much. We'll take this to the board this afternoon.
Mhm.
Let's move forward on the next two items on the agenda, please.
Okay.
Board
So now we
matrix.
Mhm.
Ms. Thurston and her team have been working on this. I'm going to give you an update to the committee, and we can determine what our next steps are. So Thurston, you have the floor, please.
Okay. Yes. As you all know, Mr. Sessom appointed a subcommittee to take a look at the development of a board matrix. And I want to thank Ms. Gordon and Mr. Herrera for their input, along with Mr. Sessom's, in helping us to get it to a place where we felt it would be a beneficial tool for the board. And we have created a matrix. We have included information that would help us fill in gaps and or to identify individuals that would make a much stronger board than we have. And we can always have improvement. I guess it's sort of like the report that Brenda gave for the foundation, where she talked about the skill sets of the individuals that form that foundation committee. So at any rate, we came up with some categories: demographics, qualities, and core competencies, and areas of expertise. And in going over what we had developed, and we did put it into a graphic form, we need to make sure that we are legally correct in what we present. So we're going to have to figure out the rules and regs from the state of Virginia concerning demographics. In other words, can we as representatives of the university, under the laws of the state, ask people about demographic information, and that would be things like age, race, gender identification, disability status, and so on. So we are committed to continue our efforts and feel that since at our August retreat, we're going to be talking about board performance, this fits right in. Now, in the meantime, we know that we have 2 appointments that must be made this year by the governor for 2021 through 2022. And that process is already taking place. I do know that I think that if we have concerns about the mix of the board or where we have gaps and things of that nature, we can follow through on the process like we have done in the past. And that will give us time to make sure that the board matrix is legally sound and that we can use it. So if any questions, let me know. I can't hear.
Questions or comments? Anyone on Thursday's update? Seeing none, thank you very much, Thursday, for the work you and the committee have done on this.
Thank you.
We'll get there eventually. I think if you were on the
Right.
call yesterday, we heard that we have the funding for the board assessment and also to move forward on that in the fall. So we look forward to having that in our August retreat. The president's evaluation will be done this afternoon as a part of the full board process. As you all know, we'll be asking our individual board members to summarize their thoughts on the president's performance during the year and give him feedback personally. And I'm sure he'll have his comments. He did have a one-page document, two-page document he sent out to us earlier yesterday about what his response was and what he thinks I think the challenges and the opportunities are for Virginia State University. So we're excited about that, and I look forward to that this afternoon. Is there any other business to be held by this body? Seeing none, can we move for adjournment so we can get ready to have you guys have some lunch and see you back in a little while?
Thank you.
Second. A motion for
So
dismissal.
moved. Crittenden.
Thank you very much. Second.
Second.
Thank you very much. Right. See you all in a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay.